Okay, today we're going to do a little work on the motorhome. We're going to replace the batteries in the bay here. If I can get the key to open it up. These are the acid batteries. These are your standard, I guess these would be like golf cart batteries. They're a deep cycle. I've got 6 of them all together. There's 4 there and 2 in that white container. Those are, and then of course the starting battery for the engine is in the very back there. But I've got some Battleborn lithium batteries to go ahead and replace those with. And one of the things you want to do when you start a project like this, just to be on the safe side, you've got a 12-volt disconnect right here, and just to be on the safe side, you want to disconnect the 12-volt to all the coach, and that button right there does that. So I'm going to go ahead and when I get ready to make my, put the wrenches to the thing, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to disconnect that. This is the other motorhome we have. This is an Alante 32N, really nice motorhome. And I believe this is a 2017, 2018. It's got 3 slides, 3 TVs. I've added solar to it, and I think what we're going to do is to utilize those batteries, because they're almost new. I think we're going to move those batteries over into this motorhome. And this one, by the way, is for sale. So anyway, we're going to get started on this little project here. Of course, it's been really nice weather all up until today, and now we've got overcast skies, and it even looks like we might get a sprinkle. So that's the life of an RVer. So anyway, we'll get started on this in just a minute. Okay, one of the first things that you want to do is put on a good pair of gloves and wear an old shirt of some sort, because if you get this battery acid on this part of your clothing, it'll just eat holes right through it. And so it's always a good idea to have something like that. And then of course the other thing you want to do is start to make an assessment of just what you've got here, and where all the wires are coming and going. And I always like to take my phone and just do a picture, 1 or 2 pictures, and that way, if for some reason something goes crazy, then I have a record of where everything is and what it looks like, so that I can actually take it apart and put it back the way it was. But in looking here, these are 6-volt batteries, and it's a 12-volt system. So in order to make these 6-volt batteries compatible to 12-volt, you've got a negative here going over to a positive here, and then another negative here going over to this was actually another negative, and then here's a negative going to a positive. Anyway, it's you're marrying these up, so they're actually, these 2 batteries actually become one when you couple them up that way. So at any rate, I want to look at where the main leads are coming down from. And here's one right here. This is the main ground for your 12-volt coach. And then this is the main power or 12-volt positive side for your coach. So once you disconnect these two, no 12-volt power is going to be going to the coach, and then you just have your 12 volts right here to deal with your 4 batteries. And then it'll be just a question of disconnecting your brackets in order to remove this. All this is very powerful, and so you got to make really sure that no 2 batteries, negative and positive, on a single battery come in contact with one another, because you'll have big time sparks if that happens. Now this is for the inverter. We have a Xantrax inverter on this coach, and this is a temperature monitor, which monitors the temperature of the batteries and helps the inverter to compensate for that. So that 12-volt disconnect in the front of the coach that I showed a minute ago, I'm going to go turn that off now, and then we're going to start disassembling this. Okay, to be on the safe side, I also disconnected the shore power just to make sure that everything is off and able to be disconnected. And we got some odd size nuts there. Okay, this was some kind of oddball nut, but anyway, I found a crescent wrench that would do the job. Now, when you're disconnecting batteries, it's always a good idea to disconnect the negative first. Always disconnect the negative first, because that kills the whole battery from any kind of problems you might get from it. And then you can move over to the positive side and take care of that without any sparks flying or whatever. It's just a good idea. And then before I go any further, now that I have this bank disconnected and can get it out of there, what I recommend is getting some electrical tape or something and cover this and the other one, so that as you're working on it, if they happen to bang into each other, you won't have a problem. So I'm going to go grab some tape and we're going to do that. Okay, I've got all the battery cables disconnected and the batteries are ready to come out. If you notice, I've replaced the nuts that were holding all these cables on. I learned a long time ago that if you don't put the nuts back on where you'll be looking for them when you go to reassemble everything. And so this battery bay is in pretty rough shape. It's got a lot of battery acid, and so I'll have to clean all that up and get that all ready to take the new batteries. And it does have some brackets here that won't fit the batteries that I have that I'm going to replace in there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this up, and it'll take a little while, but I'll get back to you when I get that ready to show you again. Okay, now I've gotten the old batteries out. I've cleaned up this bay really good. I reconditioned the seal around the door. This is some great stuff here. This 3-in-1 rubber sealer or rubber seal conditioner. It can take some of the dried out, most crummy looking rubber seals and recondition them to where they look almost new. And so I've got that all done. I always like to kind of put in a piece of plywood underneath the batteries, especially when they're not the lead acid batteries. These are the lithium batteries. Let me tell you, when I took those 4 batteries out of here, good grief, those things were heavy. the lithium batteries weigh about half of what the lead acid batteries weigh. And one of the nice things is that they fit in here real nice. You've got this substrate here that you can screw brackets down on to keep your batteries from moving around, and you can tie straps down to them and everything, and it's a lot better than this thin plastic wall. Even though this is fairly hardy, it just this gives you a lot more integrity, a lot more strength, and it also supports the bottom of the bay. And without lead acid batteries, you don't have to worry about the acid getting on them or anything. It'll look just like this, you know, 5-10 years from now. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to install those batteries now. Okay, I got the new batteries installed, and I have all the wiring all done, and if these were all in a line, it'd be a lot easier, but you've basically got your ground, which goes from here over to the other battery ground, and then to the fourth battery ground. And then the same thing with the positive. You got positive from this side to this battery, and then over to this battery, and then to here. And so basically you've got just a really big battery that's about the size of 4 batteries is basically what it is. Now, what I always recommend is everything's hooked up except the ground wire. The ground wire is the last one to hook up, and one way to test that, to make sure you haven't messed something up, is you take your voltmeter, and this is just a cheap meter that you can buy for just a few bucks at Harbor Freight. In fact, they have a giveaway program, and a lot of times, you know, they'll give something like this away for free. But you check your connection point over here and your connection point here, and you should have, you know, 12 to 15 volts, something like that. Now this one is showing 17.6, so it's a little bit more. These are all fully charged batteries, and so it's in good shape. Now if you were seeing something like 24 volts or something like that, then you'd know you doubled up something by mistake, and you'd have to trace your wires back and make sure you're okay. But as long as you've got 12 plus voltage, 12 to 15 volts, something like that, then you should be fine. And so the last connection is going to be this one going to here, and I can hear the inverter and everything starting to fire up. So I'm going to make that final connection, and then we'll check everything out inside the coach and make sure she's all ready to go. Okay, there we go. We've got everything wired up, everything's turned back on. Batteries are in there pretty secure. I might add some strapping to it or something, but there's really no place they can go. And so they're all blocked in really well. Everything looks good. So let's go turn on the 12 volt disconnect in here, and we'll see how things go. So here's the disconnect. Okay, that's now on. System status is absorption, so it's going through its checks right now. And refrigerator is back on and on AC. And let's see, the lights are all working, so that's good. Everything looks like it's okie dokie. So I may have to do a little adjusting to the inverter to correct it from the type of batteries I've got in there. Might have to do a little adjusting to that inverter so it doesn't overcharge. But she's looking like she's doing pretty good. So if you got something out of this video, that's great. I appreciate that. I've got a 5th Battleborn battery that I'm going to install in this other bay over here and connect it up, so I'll have 500 amp hours of battery, which will be all I'm going to need. And then I'm going to look at putting some panels up on the top, and we should be in good shape. And I better shut it off because the gardening people across the street are getting kind of loud. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share, and leave some comments in the bottom here if you think this helped you out any. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks.